It's Game 3 of the series with the San Antonio Missions, and we're joined by RoughRiders manager Jason Wood after the team split the first two games of the series. Last night, Jason, it seemed like things got a little bit away from Rotobaugh in the bullpen, the grand slam there to Liriano, and then getting thrown out of the ball game. Was that just a matter of frustration boiling over for Rotobaugh and maybe taking it out on the wrong source?
I believe so. I think Rhodey thought that he was being pinched there behind home plate with Ramon, the home plate umpire, and talking to a few sources, I believe that he was as well. I don't think the strike zone was very generous, I would say, in a sense last night, but those are battles you have to fight through, and you get behind hitters and good hitters, and in this league you're going to pay for it. But to his credit, he's the type of guy that comes in and pounds that strike zone, and I thought he was getting a little bit pinched last night, and frustration built up, and Ramon wanted nothing to do with it and ended up ejecting him.
I'm sure that that's also not just from last night, but just over the last week for not only Rotobaugh, but the rest of the bullpen seems to be slumping. Is it one of those things that you just say it's going to work itself out, or is there a greater concern over the way the bullpen has pitched here over the last 2 weeks or so?
I hope so. I hope the bullpen figures this thing out, because coming into the season, Jeff and I had talked how happy we were with this bullpen and what a good job that we saw them do in spring training. The ability is there for each and every one of them. We've seen it before from them, and it might be just a little bit of a funk right now, but they need to step up. I mean, these starters are going out there and giving it their best and giving us, usually 6 quality innings, and it's up to the bullpen to do some good things, and we're going to rely on them. We haven't by any means given up on them whatsoever, and we've got some pretty good pieces down there. We just got to get them all to work.
I think without a doubt the most reliable member of the bullpen who is still here is Phil Klein. He's been outstanding, aside from 1 or 2 outings where he's maybe walked a few more guys than he would like, but he's been terrific. Tell me a little bit about the growth that you've seen from Klein. You had him at the end of 2012, beginning of 2013. Seems like a guy who's just worked really, really hard to make himself as good as he can possibly be. I think he's one of the hardest working guys that I see on there on the team.
Oh, absolutely. Phil does a very good job when he comes in. Usually it's late innings, sometimes a 2-inning stint, but he commands that strike zone, and that's one good thing. And he's got the stature of a very tall individual, and gets good leverage on most of his pitches. And I think it's very deceptive for a lot of hitters. I've talked to some hitters, and not too many of them find it too easy to pick up the ball out of Kleiner's hands. So with him coming in at the back end of a bullpen, the job that he's done, we rely on him a lot for the time being, and hopefully will for the rest of the season. So Phil has done a good job. He's ended up closing some games for us, but usually the 7th, 8th inning type guy is where Phil is really valuable for us.
Here with RoughRiders manager Jason Wood, looking at things on the offensive side, one guy who you just, if it was a fire, you couldn't put him out, Jake Smolinski, 3 for 3 last night. He has been phenomenal over the last 3 weeks. It seemed like just waiting for his bat to catch up to where his batter's eye was, taking all those walks early on. Now he's batting .315. He's been a really nice find for this organization.
Absolutely. Not only as a hitter in the box, the veteran presence that he has around the clubhouse, the respect that he gets out of all these young players is really nice. Jake does a good job on defense as well, but you see him slotted in that 3-hole for most of the year because his quality at bats, and he gives you a professional bat just about every time. He has a knack for driving in runs. He gets on base. He's got a little bit of speed on him, within himself. So it's nice to have him in the middle, and we need to keep him going. That's for sure.
Ryan Rue is a guy who's recently got back going. He went through that slump over the course of the homestand. I was talking with Jason Hart, and he says a lot of it had to do with his timing. He lost his timing, and then he got it back. And for somebody who's never played the game, it's hard for me to figure out how you lose it and how you get it back. As a former hitter and somebody who's dealt with hitters, how does that happen? How does it go and then return to somebody up there who's had all sorts of success?
It's crazy. It's a lot of times it can be mechanical, where you get out of a lot of the mechanics that you're used to doing. Timing becomes an issue. With Ryan, I think he has a little bit of a leg kick, so if the timing's not right with that leg kick, it makes it a little bit tougher to get his foot down, get a bat through the zone. But he's able to minimize that, and Jason and Brooke Jacoby have been working with that when Brooke was in town, and I know that he just gets in there and battles every day, and Ryan's done a pretty good job for us throughout the course of the year. He's another bat in the middle of the order that we need to keep going, so we look for good things out of Ryan. He's got the ability to drive the ball out of the ballpark in all fields. He's able to take a walk when he can, and we're looking for him to be a little bit more consistent with runners in scoring position, and hopefully we'll get that out of Ryan.
For reasons things out of your control, another leadoff hitter for the RoughRiders, Drew Robinson, has been inserted in there every game on this road trip, and he's responded very nicely. He said he's done it in the past. I know he led off for you last year, but what led you to put Robinson in there, a guy who had really been struggling over the first month plus of the season, into that top spot in the order? And it's worked out, so I give you all the credit in the world.
Well, I don't know about that. I just think that Drew does a pretty good job of getting on base. For the most part, he's got a pretty good eye up there at the plate. There's a few swing and misses there, but he's got a knack to bunt some balls when he needs to. He's got a little bit of speed, great contact hitter. From the left side is something that I kind of like. So Drew's done a pretty good job, and it may not be his calling, but for now, to insert him in there is something I'm comfortable with, and I know that he's okay with it. So we'll just ride this out as long as we can.
Is he just a slow starter? I know he had a slow start last year and then really came on over the last 2 months of the season. Is it just a matter of him making that first adjustment to the level and then taking off from there?
Yeah, once Drew gets confidence within himself, he's a darn good hitter. One of the best hitters we have in this organization, swing-wise, ability to drive the ball as well. The biggest thing is the mental confidence that he needs to instill within himself and not get so down on himself all the time. He does a really good job. He works his tail off, and good things out of Drew is hopefully we'll see to come.
Last night the team was 1 for 13 with runners in scoring position. Never a good statistic as you want to look at. And I was looking at the numbers throughout the season, and the numbers with runners in scoring position are dramatically down in this ballpark versus everywhere else in the league, including any other park that we played in. Is it maybe sometimes a case of a park getting in hitters' heads? I know that when we played our first game here, there were guys that had played here previously talking about, oh, this place is tough to hit, wind always blowing in. Can that actually manifest itself into what happens during the game where you don't have a lot of confidence because of the ballpark conditions?
I believe so. I think once again, you get back to the middle part of it and you start to believe that balls don't carry in certain parks as they do in other parks. It can play with your mind a little bit. I haven't heard too much about that since we've been here this series, and even in the last series. The ball actually did carry pretty good in this ballpark last series, but there are some ballparks, not too many in this league, that the ball doesn't carry as well. I know these guys are comfortable with hitting at home, the confines of being at home and the practice that they put in there every day, but it's something you got to battle through when you go on the road. Not every ballpark is feasible to an offensive standpoint, but we come from Midland where anything you put on the ground seems to be a base hit, and we switch over here into San Antonio where you're going to get 2-1, 3-1 ball games, and it's something that's mind over matter. These guys got to adjust to that, and I think they do a pretty good job of it. So we'll just try to get back and see what we can do these next 2 games in the series. From
your playing days, was there a ballpark either in the majors or the minors that you absolutely hated hitting in, and conversely that you really loved hitting in? You just felt very comfortable there?
Well, like I said, I think for the 18 years that I played, all the ballparks that were my home ballparks I was very comfortable in because that's where I spent most of my time working. I got my work done in that ballpark. I knew the nooks and crannies of certain areas, where to hit the ball at the right time. So I wouldn't say there was one individual ballpark that I really loved. I did really enjoy hitting in Albuquerque, New Mexico for the time that I spent there, the 6-7 years I spent there. I must say the ball did carry pretty well there, so I was able to lengthen my career out by playing a lot of games in that ballpark. But for the confines of most of the home ballparks I played in, I was pretty comfortable with.
And anywhere when you showed up to the ballpark, you said, I don't want to hit today. I hope I'm out of the lineup.
Yeah, there may have been a couple ballparks like that. Maybe, in New Orleans, Louisiana, where you knew that you put anything in the air, there wasn't a whole lot that was going to go out, and the grass was pretty thick, so the air was real thick as well, and it wasn't too friendly as an offensive standpoint. But for the most part, anywhere in that PCL was nice.
Yeah, I think I heard complaints from New Orleans from Jordan Brown and Smolinski as well, as that was their home ballpark last year. Well, Jason, thanks so much for the time. Best of luck out there today.
All right, Alex, thanks a lot.
That's RoughRiders manager Jason Wood. We're back right after this on the Frisco RoughRiders Baseball Network.